Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place. I could lay there next to you.
Hey friends, welcome back to our channel, Best Freaking Friends Forever. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for subscribing and watching or commenting. We really appreciate it. All right, so today on our episode, we're going to talk about Bridgerton, episodes 5 and 6. So we're going to start with episode 5, that's called The Duke and I.
Yep. And that's the name of the book that this season is about.
Yes, that's the first book in the series, yes. So it starts out with Daphne kind of telling her mom, or Lady Bridgerton, that she's going to marry, that she is going to get married. And I think at first she thinks it's to the Prince Friedrich, but it's to Duke of Hastings.
Yep. Yeah, and then her mom's relieved, and her headache suddenly went away.
Well, yeah, because I think she drank a lot the night before, and that was part of the reason. Mm-hmm. And I think she knew that there was something between Daphne and the Duke of Hastings. I think that's what, and she knew that was more of a love match than her and the prince, I think. Mm-hmm. Right. And I thought it was kind of cool that she was just happy that she was marrying, because she went from being, she could have been a princess, and she's a duchess instead. Like, I thought it was pretty cool that the mom was happy for her, regardless.
Yeah. And she's wanting to get married in 3 days, and the queen kind of stopped that because the queen wanted the prince, because the prince is her nephew, and she wanted the prince and Daphne to be together, and so she puts a stop to it. We also get to see the queen with her husband, King George, and that scene has some truth to it because King George and his queen, their daughter actually did die at a younger age, and that was his favorite daughter, and he did go mad because of it. She died of TB, tuberculosis is what she died from, and he did go mad. So, well, and it's kind of neat because you could tell that they had a really good relationship and they were best friends, which when the Duke and Daphne go to plead their case so that the queen will let them get married, you could see where the queen had related to them. She was like, oh, absolutely. Because she talked about how, if you're in the foundation of your relationship is with your best friend, but she also said it could easily crumble. So she was kind of talking about how her and the king have had, they were so tight and close, but, it's kind of crumbled because he's went mad. And yeah, I don't know. It just was kind of neat to see that relationship there.
I think so. And I think that's my favorite scene in this episode is when, I don't know, when they're pleading their case and Daphne says that it was love at first sight, and Simon's like, no, it wasn't. And he's kind of explaining to the queen how Daphne felt about him and how he really felt about her at first. And you kind of watch, and Daphne's kind of looking at him like, what are you saying right now? I didn't know you felt this way. And she's like, really, you're laying it on thick. I feel like, you know what I mean? But then we see him.
You have to think, he went from saying, you're not my friend, to break their little coup that they had together. He broke that up, and he did everything he could to push her away. And go from that, that's really the last conversation they had.
It is.
You confessing his love in front of the leader of the country. Yeah, so I'm sure it threw her for a head spin. Well, even whenever they got married, I'm telling you, the acting between the two of them, because she had a pain in her face, and when he saw that, you could see he was heartbroken because he didn't want to see that look on her. And when they have their honeymoon, they still were butting heads about how each other felt. That's probably my favorite part is when
that episode or that scene too, where he's because he said everything I told the queen was true. And she's kind of like, what? Because I think he ignored her. Well, even 3 days prior to them getting married, I think she said that he hadn't talked to her. He hadn't looked at her. He hadn't, and she thought it was because he was not interested, or not necessarily not interested, but was upset that he had to marry her and that she had forced him into it. Because I think that's where they're butting heads. I think he feels like he's forced her hand.
Right. And she feels the same.
She feels like she's forced him. Because even she tells the prince, she tells Prince Friedrich, because he's like, if he's forcing you to marry him, we can do something about it. She's like, oh no, if anybody's forcing anybody, it's me forcing him.
Yeah.
But obviously she doesn't go into it.
Right.
But so it's kind of like they both feel like they've forced each other, and they're not talking about it. So of course it's going to stay and fester between the two of them because they won't talk.
Yeah. Now, I think what tore the wall down was when he said he burns for her. I love that part.
Yep.
And she's like, you burn for me. Yes. Like,
can't you tell?
Yeah. Yeah. Once he says that and he really expresses to her, I feel like all that doubt had went away for both of them.
Well, and then she says it back to him.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, if you would have just looked at me these past days, she's like, you'd know that I burn for you too, basically.
Yeah, but every time he did look at her, she had pain on her face because she was so upset.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we get to see too, Colin is making more advances to, what's her name? Marina.
Lady Thompson, or Miss Thompson.
Yeah.
And I think Penelope and her relationship is kind of, because Penelope was really one that was on her side. She kind of befriended her, and now she's eventually going to try to deceive Colin, and Penelope doesn't want it to happen. Well, and the Featheringtons, I feel bad for them right now because they're going through a lot right now. Like, I feel like Mr. Featherington has kind of put them in a rough spot, and Lady Featherington is kind of on him because they can't even buy dresses for the girls. And I mean, so they're going through a lot.
Yeah, but Colin wants to propose, but he's going to wait until after the wedding. And they're putting him in he doesn't know it yet, but they're putting him in a position where she's pregnant, and it'll be trouble at the end of the day if he does marry her. We also get to see Benedict with the dressmaker. I can't think of her name.
Madame Delacroix.
Yeah.
I think that's her name. Yes, we learn about them or start seeing them because they go to Mr. Vicker. Is it Vicker? And they have kind of like he's having a party, soiree, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so one of the, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but he opens the door. So he's with another man, and they we find out later in the season a little bit more about that situation. Because of course back then that was a huge no. I think back then you could be hung for that, right?
Well, he even said because it's Lord Granville is what his name is, Lord Granville. He even tells Benedict, he was like, every day we can't even steal glances at each other or do anything like that because we risk our lives doing that. Mm-hmm. If they even are caught looking at each other. And I think Benedict asks him about his wife. What about your wife? And he's like, well, I get my freedom, she gets hers. Like, she gets the safety of marriage.
Yeah.
And he gets the safety of a marriage too, because obviously that, like you said, it was definitely not a good thing back then to have that out in the open, that you are. Yeah.
But that's the thing, but rumors were such a big thing back then too, because everybody at that party knows that they're doing that, and that just gets whispers going. So I just wonder, as we go on, if we'll get to see more about that relationship and if they'll address it more in the show. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, it was interesting how they did the whole Benedict and his wife, because I think Benedict was with Madame Delacroix and his wife, was he not? That night at the party?
Oh, okay.
Wasn't that his wife and Madame Delacroix that
Maybe.
he was with?
Possibly. I didn't even pay attention.
And I don't think he knows, meaning the husband. And Benedict is kind of weird around him the next time we see them because I think he knows what he's done because he introduces her as his wife. So that's kind of interesting.
Go back and watch that because, wow, Shelley, good for you. You sleuth.
I was like, oh, that's kind of, because I was like, well, Benedict has definitely gotten with his wife. And I don't know if he knows it or not.
Okay. Because even like the way that
blame her. I mean, he can't really. I mean, that'd be a double standard. I feel like if he did get mad at her.
I mean, he's letting her do the freedoms of things. So yeah.
Well, he gets to do what he wants, and she gets to do what she wants.
He's there. Well, yeah, he's definitely very liberal.
Well, Lady Featherington gives Marina an ultimatum about Lord Rutledge. Tells her, she has till the weekend, till Saturday, or she says, I'll get Colin to propose. So.
Well, yeah, and she does. She gets it worked out the way she needs it to.
Yep. Well, and just like the dinner scene with, like you said, the Queen and the King, and they're talking, and they come to her and they say, the King, and she's like, is he dead? And they're like, no, he's lucid. And at first he is, until, like you said, they bring up the daughter, and then it all changes. Mm-hmm. Well, I think another cool scene in this episode, too, was when Simon and Anthony meet in the church. And Anthony wants to discuss the dowry with him. He's like, I'm not taking her dowry. That's not what I'm about. Like, I don't want to do that. He's like, you can put it in a trust for her. And I thought that was kind of cool of Simon, too, to do that. And I think that kind of made Anthony respect him a little bit more, too, than what, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously they come to blows later in the season, but...
Think of a dowry, though. A dowry is such a weird concept. So, like, the family that has the daughter pays somebody to take her.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of selling something. It's so bizarre.
Almost like, that's why I think it's cool that Simon was like, no, I'm not taking that. That's not what, yeah. And
it just goes to show, how kind of liberal he is, too, in a way. Mm-hmm. Well, the way he thinks of women, he doesn't think of women as other men do in this culture.
Mm-hmm. Nope, you can tell he doesn't.
Yeah, Lady Danbury, she just did a really good job at raising him. And I like this scene where they all go to the Queen, and she goes to bow, and the Queen says, no, can't go any lower, and she goes, with these needs, Your Highness.
Yeah.
I just love, and I hate that we've only seen them together like one time like that, because I love the Queen, I love Lady Danbury.
They are two very interesting women. Mm-hmm. They have some spunk to them. Episode 6, and it's titled Swish.
Yep.
So basically, this one just starts off with them basically not being able to get enough of each other. Simon and Daphne. They're kind of on their honeymoon phase, and it is a honeymoon phase.
Marathon.
Pretty much. I mean, honestly, it was like, I was like, my God, like, because I forgot how long it actually, like, went on and how many places they actually, like, pretty much everywhere.
I like the library scene. It might be my favorite one. I don't know, because I like they're in the library, and then we see the maids outside listening in. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Mrs. Coulson, I don't know, because Daphne's trying to learn her way and to do what a duchess is supposed to do. And I don't know. I feel like Mrs. Coulson is kind of like this girl. Like, she's because she keeps saying the former duchess, meaning Simon's mother, mm-hmm. how good she was, and pretty much telling Daphne, you're nothing like her. Like, you won't be anything like her. I don't know. I took it as that. I just felt like she was very, in subtle ways, that she was against Daphne from the get-go.
Right. Well, I'm sure it wasn't helping her case when they were getting it on in every area of the place, outside, in the library.
Her trying to be a duchess. Mm-hmm. She screws up right from the get-go, though, with the whole pig thing, with choosing the right pig. And she doesn't realize, telling all three that they're going to win, that she takes away money from a farmer to provide the pork. Well, and then we get to see her with kids for the first time, or around children, because one comes crying to her. Well, and then we have another jaw-dropping scene where Colin announces his engagement to Lady Thompson, or Miss Thompson. Mm-hmm. And Anthony's kind of upset with him. And I think Penelope is too. And he kind of pulls him aside, and they kind of get in a fight about it. Anthony will not give him his blessing. And he's like, I'm sorry to disappoint you. And Colin tells Anthony that he's disappointed him in more ways than he knows, or more ways than one, when he tells him that he won't give him his blessing.
And it's weird because they keep saying how young Colin is. They keep mentioning that. Colin's older than Daphne, and she's married.
And he even says that, and Anthony tells him it's not the same and you know it. Well, Daphne talks to Mrs. Coulson about the previous Duchess and her and her husband, like, so Simon's father and mom, their relationship. And she kind of learns a little bit about Simon's background and why he's kind of like the way he is. And the background and how he basically, and she talks to Simon about it later, but, I feel like they kind of talk and she learns a little more from Mrs. And I feel like Mrs. Coulson and her actually do have a decent conversation then, even though it's about Simon and the dad and the mom and about their relationship. But yeah.
Well, she also, I don't know about you, but for me, she kind of implied that Simon's dad is not Simon's dad. So when she's talking to Daphne, she goes, I told my lady that she said, you need strong, good seed to get pregnant. And she's talking about how she had that conversation with Simon's mother, and then she goes, and then she became pregnant. And so it kind of, to me, came as, I took it that
Mrs.
Coulson, yeah. So the Duchess and Mrs. Coulson have that conversation about having strong seed, and then all of a sudden the Duchess miraculously ends up pregnant.
We're alluding to Simon too, and that because Daphne thinks he can't have children, that he's not capable.
He can't.
She doesn't. Well, that he can't physically.
Right.
That's what.
And that's the word he emphasizes too. Yeah. He emphasizes can't.
Yes. So, but Daphne doesn't understand the can't part. So Daphne, eventually, when they do it in the office or whatever, and he kind of leaves his stuff behind, she realizes she kind of starts putting two and two together, and she goes to Rose, I think.
Yes, she does.
Rose kind of talks to her, and then Daphne Daphne becomes a different person for a little bit, and she obviously
this is all a trigger warning too. We'll give you a trigger warning.
Yeah. But Daphne kind of takes it upon herself to make Simon not do that. And to make sure she does get pregnant. And Simon,
she forces him.
She kind of forces him and won't let him pull out like he'd been used to, so to speak. I know that's kind of but that's what it was. And she wouldn't let him this time. And he kind of was like, the look he gives her and I'm watching it the second time. I was like, wow, Daphne, because the look she gives him, I showed you, this is, yeah. And then they get into a big fight about what she did and she's like, what do you mean what I did? You lied to me.
Mm-hmm.
And but I don't know. I do think what she did was much worse than what he did, obviously, because I don't know.
Yep, it can be done to a man.
Yeah,
she did something really harsh. Well, she brings it up too and says, she says it. You said you can't. She said you didn't say you didn't want. That is when you say I can't or I want, those are two completely different meanings.
Yep.
It wasn't that he can't.
He didn't want them. But she's still into this. She still doesn't know why. She still doesn't understand why he doesn't want them or want children, and why he says he can't have them. Because he doesn't talk to her about it.
All right, so this was season 1, episode 5, The Duke and I, episode 6, Swish. And I am Tiffany. This is my BFFF Shelley. Join us next time, friends, for another great episode.